that black and white. There are a lot of underlying factors we need to take into account when we think of GMOs. And first of all, what is a GMO? It's a genetically modified organism. Any organism that has its genetic material artificially altered through engineering. Now, you might ask yourself, why is this important? You've already heard someone else talk about organic food. I heard a second person. Well, according to the 2014 article, Why We Need GMO Crops in Agriculture, over 90% of soy, corn, and cotton are genetically modified in the U.S. And up here are other positively genetically modified plants that we produce in the U.S. So with such a large percentage of our crops genetically modified, it's vital to understand the effects and the importance of GMOs. We need to conduct more research on it, and we can't hinder the progress. So I'll go over some potential that GMO has, some skepticism surrounding it, and the current state of GMOs. Begin with some problems that the GMO products can solve. One major problem we face in our world today is human population. As you see in the graph here, around 2050, we'll have approximately 10 billion people on the planet. Tony Young, in their 2015 article governing GMOs in the USA, states that we'll need to grow approximately 70% more food by 2050. This is a large hurdle to cross, and there are two different ways we could solve this issue. We could use our current methods by using more land and more resources to produce more food, or we could increase productivity and efficiency with the same amount of land we have. GMOs can solve this problem without using more land. They could increase productivity by increasing weather resistance, and they could also reduce the use of pesticides, because the main reason why GMOs are implemented in the U.S. so they could be pesticide resistant, or not pesticide resistant, but bug resistant. So they don't need as much pesticide, and you won't need as many land because not as many crops will get destroyed. Another problem that GMOs can solve is our health. So GMOs has the possibility of increasing our health and our quality of life. So this is a picture of golden rice on the left and normal rice on the right. Golden rice is special because it's genetically modified to have an increase in vitamins, especially vitamin A. And this won't just help us. It could help developing countries be more healthy by implementing healthier foods. And this possibility is, imagine, kill the superfood and even twice as effective to be healthy. However, when some people hear GMOs, some people become fearful and skeptic. One of the main reasons why people are scared about GMOs is that they believe it's unsafe to eat. This is just simply false. In all of our years of research and farming GMOs, no research shows that it is toxic or unhealthy to consume GMOs. The problem arises when we think of unforeseen consequences in the future. Luc Bodegel, in their 2016 article, GMO, Conventional and Organic Crops, states that any farmer could legally grow GMOs as long as they were in accordance with current regulations in the EU. Now this creates some concern. What happens if a farmer decides to plant GMO products in the same field as non-GMO products? They could cross-pollinate and create some sort of hybrid that could have unknown side effects. And people who want non-GMO products might be getting GMO products in their food. This is a very real concern. However, this could be fixed with many farming techniques. As you can see here, in between these two crops, there's a space in between them. That's called like a buffer zone. This is very primitive but very effective way to prevent cross-pollination, to prevent some sort of hybrid farming. Another long-term effect that people are worried is the effect GMOs will have on ecosystems and biodiversity. People are scared that if you introduce GMOs into an ecosystem, that will destroy the fellow organisms in the same ecosystem. However, there's just not enough evidence to tell if this is true or not. The 2015 article, No Scientific Consensus on GMO Safety, the author, Angelica Hillbeck, explains that it's impossible to determine the future dangers of GMOs just because the research methods and the interpretations of data is vastly different. So in order to properly understand the effects of GMO, we need this research and we need funding for GMOs. And that leads us to its current state today. The current state of GMOs is a little bit mixed bag. There are a lot of positive things and negative things. Now in 2016, Congress passed a law that required GMOs to be labeled differently than non-GMO laws. As John Dovey put it in his 2018 article, GMO Food Labels in the United States, the law bit as a compromise between very strict labeling laws and no labeling laws altogether. Now, This labeling law only discourages consumers from buying these products, and like you see, the non-GMO label encourages people to buy it. However, this only has negative effects. This discouragement only leads to higher prices of GMOs, which further delays GMO funding and research. It'll become less profitable and less research will go into it. This will only further delay the time before we reach a common consensus on GMOs. Now, despite this, GMOs are still growing and very popular, especially in America. According to Aristides, in their 2017 article, Impact from Using GMOs as Feed and Food, revenue from biotechnology was $323.8 billion in the U.S. in 2012, which grew more than 10% since last decade. It's very evident that GMOs are part of our culture. They aren't going anywhere. No matter who you are, you've eaten some, and you're going to continue. Your kids will eat it. So no matter what we do about GMOs, we should not hinder the growth of GMOs in any way, because they're just going to be part of us. We're not the only nation in the world to do so either. Barbara DeSantis, in her 2018 article, Case Studies on GMOs, mentioned that 179.7 million hectares of genetically modified crops were planted in 2015. Now, in case you don't know what hectare is, I have some diagrams here. It's basically 100 meters by 100 meters square. And on the right is a reference for a soccer field. So 1 hectare is slightly bigger than a soccer field. I said 179.7 million hectares alone were in the U.S., or in the world population. However, the U.S. did plant most of them. Here's a graph that shows the 8 leading countries of GMO products, and then how many hectares they grew. You see, USA is very evidently in the lead, followed by Brazil and Canada. Now, as you see by this graph, there's a slight increased trend since 2011-2015. This only implies that the rest of the world, us ourselves, will just increase our GMO products. So, we know that they are part of us, we know that they aren't going anywhere, and we know that the products are growing. And this sort of genetic modification isn't new to us. We've been modifying organisms for thousands of years with selective breeding. We select traits we find desirable, we breed that, and then the species changes because of that. GMOs are just the next step in that process. So they're nothing new to us. Now, despite any skepticism, and despite any potential they hold, we must support it for research. Because if we delay the research and funding of GMOs any further, the potential risks are going to continue to be unknown. So, if you ever see a GMO product, don't get discouraged. It's perfectly safe to eat. Go out and buy it, and you'll know you'll be supporting GMO research.